awake, I swear.
It's okay.
Don't worry about it. I beg your forgiveness and your blessing. I am but a humble servant. You are back in Haven, my lady. They say you saved us. The breach stopped growing, just like the mark on your hand. It's all anyone has talked about for the last 3 days.
Good.
Then the danger is over.
The breach is still in the sky, but that's what they say. I'm certain Lady Cassandra would want to know you've wakened. She said, at once.
And where is she?
In the Chantry, with the Lord Chancellor. At once, she said.
Poor little scared elf girl. Okay. What's this? Patient observations. Vain hope. Someone better at this than me takes over before the survivor expires. Notes in case. Day 1. Clammy, shallow breathing, pulse over fast, not responsive, pupils dilated. Mage says her scarring mark is thrumming with unknown magic. Wish we could station a Templar in here, just in case. Well, glad you didn't. Don't want to get stabbed in my sleep. Okay. Find Cassandra in the Chantry. What's this?
I believe Seeker Cassandra would like to speak with you.
Ah, yes. So they're not gonna let me really do anything until I go talk to her. So I'm going to go do that then. What's this? Andraste's Mabari. You know Andraste's old Mabari? He didn't show up in the chant. If you ask those holy sisters, well, they'll say Andraste can't have some big old smelly war dog. But all Ferelden knows it right. Our sweet lady needed someone who would warm her feet at night. And there's Andraste's Mabari by the holy prophet's side in the fight against Tevinter. That dog would never hide. They say the Maker sent him special. Always loyal, without pride, so he could be the sworn companion of the Maker's holy bride. Oh, that dog, he guards Andraste without arrogance or fear, only asking of his mistress just a scratch behind the ears. But then old Mafroth gets plotting, tries to lure that dog away, but even as they trap the prophet, her Mabari never strays. And there's Andraste's Mabari by the holy prophet's side. In the fight against Tevinter, that dog would never hide. They say the Maker sent him special, always loyal without pride, so he could be the sworn companion of the Holy Maker's bride. Oh, they thought the wounds had killed him, but he limped out toward the fire. And Hessarian, he shed a tear as that dog laid on the pyre. Yes, that Mabari's the companion of the Maker's holy bride. Popular, if historically unlikely, for Elden Tavern song. If historically unlikely. Mabaris are cool, though. Hey, people! Can't go inside. Gotta go up here. Talk to Cassandra. Have her sneer at me some more. She best start getting nicer if she wants me to keep her around.
Not taking orders right now. Got a problem with it? Bring it up with Cassandra.
Okay, I'm gonna talk to Captain Snooty Pants. Don't you worry. Soon as I finish collecting stuff. A Kunari battle axe. Very cool. Not for me, but cool for somebody to use. Anything over here? Any distraction to keep me away from Captain Snooty Pants for a few more seconds. Alright. I guess I'm done playing out in the snow. The music is great. Love it. The Fade. The study of the Fade is as old as humankind. For so long as men have dreamed, we have walked its twisting paths, sometimes catching a glimpse of the city at its heart, always as close as our own thoughts, but impossibly separated from our world. The Teventer Imperium once spent vast fortunes of gold, lyrium, and human slaves in an effort to map the terrain of the Fade. An ultimately futile endeavor. Although portions of it belong to powerful spirits, all the Fade is constantly in flux. The Imperium succeeded in finding the disparate and ever-shifting realms of a dozen demon lords, as well as cataloging a few hundred types of spirits, before they were forced to abandon the project. The relationship of dreamers to the Fade is complex. Even when entering the Fade through the use of lyrium, mortals are not able to control or affect it. The spirits who dwell there, however, can. And as the Chantry teaches us, the great flaw of the spirits is that they have neither imagination nor ambition. They create what they see through their sleeping visitors, building elaborate copies of our cities, people, and events, which, like the reflections in a mirror, ultimately lack context or life of their own. Even the most powerful demons merely plagiarize the worst thoughts and fears of mortals and build their realms with no other ambitions than to taste life. Okay. I feel like you would have no idea what's happening if you hadn't played the other games. Like, what is the Fade? I mean, I guess it would sort of make sense, but Chant for the Departed. Very cool. What's in here? It's like a dungeon. Am I supposed to be going down here? I'm confused. But I'm not confused about the fact that I can loot more stuff. Chantry hierarchy. The Divine is the titular head of the Chantry. Although since the schism split the Imperial Chantry into its own faction, there are now, in fact, two Divines at any one time. One Divine, informally called the White Divine, is a woman housed in the Grand Cathedral in Val Royeaux. The other, known as the Black Divine, is a man housed in the Argent Spire in Minrathous. Neither divine recognizes the existence of the other, and the informal names are considered sacrilegious. No matter the gender, a divine is addressed as Most Holy or Your Perfection. Oh my. Beneath the rank of divine is the Grand Cleric. Each Grand Cleric presides over numerous chantries and represents the highest religious authority for their region. They travel to Val Royeaux when the College of Clerics convenes, but otherwise remain where they are assigned. All Grand Clerics are addressed as Your Grace. Beneath the Grand Cleric is the Mother, or the Imperial Chantry, the Father. If a mother is in charge of a particular chantry, Revered is appended to her title. These are the priests responsible for ministering to the spiritual well-being of their flock. As a mother of revered, or revered mother is addressed as Your Reverence. Brothers and sisters form the rank and file of the Chantry and consist of three main groups: affirmed, initiates, and clerics. Affirmed are the lay brethren of the Chantry, those regular folk who have turned to the Chantry for succor. Often they are people who have led a difficult or irreligious life and have chosen to go into seclusion, or even orphans and similar unfortunates who were raised into Chantry life. The affirmed take care of the Chantry and are in turn afforded a life of quiet contemplation, no questions asked. Only those folks who take vows become initiates. These are men and women in training, whether in academic knowledge or the martial skills of a warrior. All initiates receive an academic education, although only those who seek to become Templars learn how to fight in addition. Clerics are the true academics of the Chantry, those men and women who have dedicated themselves to the pursuit of knowledge. They are often found in Chantry archives, sages presiding over libraries of books and arcane knowledge. The most senior of these clerics placed in charge of such archives are given the title Elder, although such a rank is still beneath that of Mother. All other brothers and sisters are addressed simply by noting their title before their name, such as Brother Genitivi. Okay. I'm sure all that is important to know as I call people wrong things. Picking locks is cool. More stuff to read. Oh my goodness me! Thought this was something I could play, not read. The disciples of Andraste are unique in all of history. The cult preceded the Chantry and kept itself so hidden and isolated that it actually survived to modern day. The disciples made their home high in the Frostback Mountains, in a village called Haven, which is now a sanctuary for pilgrims of the Chantry. It is understood that the disciples were descendants of the first followers of Andraste, who brought her ashes to Ferelden and built the temple to house it. Because they had pledged themselves to the keeping of the Temple of the Sacred Ashes, the disciples of Andraste never left the Frostbacks. For 900 years they kept strangers away, killing all who came close, and were completely oblivious to the world that advanced beyond the boundaries of their home. Having developed separately from the traditions of the Andrastian Chantry, the disciples were led by revered fathers. However, little else is known about the original beliefs of the disciples, for they had turned from their noble heritage by the time they were discovered. Almost all scholars believe that the centuries-long isolation imposed upon the village led to the necessity for inbreeding. Lovely. This practice likely led to a greater incidence of madness, which may explain why the cult was, at the time of its discovering in 930, worshipping a high dragon. I remember that. According to writings discovered in Haven, the disciples of Andraste showed reverence to the dragon, believing it to be the prophet reborn. The egg clutches and dragonlings of the dragon were afforded great honor for being Andraste's offering and were cared for by the cult. The dragon never attacked the cult, being cunning enough to recognize how this arrangement benefited it. In 930 Dragon, the disciples were... Am I reading that right? Okay. The disciples were wiped out by the hero of Ferelden, who was on a quest to retrieve the sacred ashes of Andraste. Yes, this is true. So this is giving you all, like, backstory from the first games. I wonder if these things were different depending on what you did. Bride of the Maker. There was once a tiny fishing village of the waking sea that was set upon by the Tevinter Imperium, which enslaved the villagers to be sold in the markets of Minrathus, leaving behind only the old and the infirm. One of the captives was the child Andraste. She was raised in slavery in a foreign land. She escaped, then made the long and treacherous journey back to her homeland alone. She rose from nothing to be the wife of an Alamari warlord. Each day she sang to the gods, asking them to help her people who remained slaves in Tevinter. The false gods of the mountains and the winds did not answer her, but the true God did. The Maker spoke. He showed her all the works of his hands, the Fade, the world, and all the creatures therein. He showed her how men had forgotten him, lavishing devotion upon mute idols and demons, and how he had left them to their fate. but her voice had reached him, and so captivated him that he offered her a place at her side, that she might rule all of creation. But Andraste would not forsake her people. She begged the Maker to return, to save his children from the cruelty of the Imperium. Reluctantly, the Maker agreed to give man another chance. Andraste went back to her husband, Mapharoth, and told him all that the Maker had revealed to her. Together they rallied the Alamari and marched forth against the mage lords of the Imperium, and the Maker was with them. The Maker's sword was creation itself, fire and flood, famine and earthquake. Everywhere they went, Andraste sang to the people of the Maker, and they heard her. The ranks of Andraste's followers grew until they were a vast tide washing over the Imperium, and when Mapharoth saw that the people loved Andraste and not him, a worm grew within his heart, gnawing upon it. At last the armies of Andraste and Mapharoth stood before the very gates of Minrathous. But Andraste was not with them, for Mapharoth had schemed in secret to hand Andraste over to the Tevinter. For this the Archon would give Mapharoth all the lands to the south of the Waking Sea. And so before all the armies of the Alamari and of Tevinter, Andraste was tied to a stake and burned, while her earthly husband turned his armies aside and did nothing, for his heart had been devoured. But as he watched the pyre, the Archon softened. He took pity on Andraste and drew his sword and granted her the mercy of a quick death. The Maker wept for his beloved, cursed Mapharoth, cursed mankind for their betrayal, and turned once again from creation, taking only Andraste with him. And Our Lady sits still at his side, where she urges him to take pity on his children. The Black City. Goodness me. Okay. No traveler to the Fade Gosh. Reading. No traveler to the Fade can fail to spot the Black City. It's one of the few constants of that ever-changing place. No matter where one might be, the city is visible, always far off, for it seems that the only rule of geography in the Fade is that all points are equidistant from the Black City. The chant teaches that the Black City was once the seat of the Maker, from whence he ruled the Fade, left empty when men turned away from him. Dreamers do not go there, nor do spirits. Water. Even the most powerful demons seem to avoid the place. It was golden and beautiful once, so the story goes, until a group of powerful magister lords from the Tevinter Imperium devised a means of breaking in. When they did so, their presence defiled the city, turning it black, which was perhaps the least of their worries. Oh, loot. Stuff. Is that everything? I hope so. I mean, interesting. I like all this lore. I also like picking locks. Anything in these cells? Oh, something to read. Co-figure. Notes written by one of the scholars responsible for restoring Haven. The notes have obviously come loose from a ledger of some sort. It took weeks scrubbing bloodstains from the stone. One of two things is true. Either stone is more porous than I thought, or Maker's beard. There must have been a lot of blood. How many people died? I'm so relieved I didn't have to deal with the altars of sacrifice the first arrivals found. Those were tossed off a cliff, I think. So now we just have to deal with the stains on the walls and floors. If this doesn't clean up in a day or two, I'm asking for some fresh plaster. Maybe we can cover them up. Still, it's not all bad. Haven is a beautiful place, and while working in the dungeons, we found scraps of paper with writing that looked like Brother Ferdinand Genitivi's. He was held here for 3 weeks before the hero of Ferelden found him. Pointed dagger grip schematic. Okay. Yes, let's light the torch, please. I would love to be able to see a little bit better. Spindleweed. So this is just the dungeons, with a bunch of like optional loot and stuff down here. Not the main quest at all. Okay. Very cool. Time to go talk to Snooty Pants McSneerface. Maybe I'll start to like her a little bit better as we go along. I remember her being alright in Dragon Age 2, but I don't know. She's been a little bit rude.
Completely mad. She should be taken to Valwell immediately, to be tried by whomever becomes divine.
I do not believe she is guilty.
The prisoner failed, Seeker. The priest.
I believe Seeker Pentagast is looking for you.
Yes, yes, yes. So many things to read. Came here to lead, not to read. The children of Andraste. There are many misconceptions regarding Andraste's bloodline, monsieur. This is due, I think, to a general lack of knowledge regarding Andraste's mortal life. Understandable, considering the many cults that arose following her death. Everyone sought to claim Our Lady for their own culture, or claim some aspect of her existence was a lie. All of them complete fabrications. My order has done considerable research to ascertain the truth. We all know Andraste and the betrayer raised 5 children. The eldest 3 were sons, Isarath, Evrion, and Verold. The rule of what was once southern Tevinter was split among them. Isarath was given the west, what is today Orlais. Evrion was given the east, what is today the Free Marches. Verold was given the central Plenacine, what is today Navarra. What became of these men and their legacies is the stuff of legend, and the majority of claimants to the Andraste's bloodline link back to one of them. None of the 3 sons, however, were born to Andraste. They were born of the betrayer's concubine, Gillivan. People chose to overlook the fact that Andraste came from the Alamari tribesmen, and that they were barbarians, not the Fereldans we know today. They were savage warriors who took concubines in addition to their wives, and because Andraste was thought to be too weak to bear children, the betrayer took Gillivan to provide him heirs, which she did. After her death, the sons were raised as Andraste's own. Later in life, Andraste proved predictions wrong and had 2 daughters by the betrayer, Ebris and Vivial. They were kept out of the public eye and not permitted to marry, though both had consorts. Ebris had but 1 child, Ali Vimar, who perished on a voyage to Denerim less than a month after her mother fell to the plague. And without children of her own, the younger daughter, Vivial, was more controversial. Okay. And without children of her own. Period. The younger daughter, Vivial, was more controversial. A strong-headed woman who defied her family by falling in love with the mage of Tevinter, Regulon. Regulon? Really? Vivial and Regulon went into self-imposed exile as the Exalted March began, and into hiding following Andraste's betrayal and murder. What became of Vivial and her descendants is largely unknown for one primary reason: no one cares. She had only daughters. Each of those daughters had only daughters. They married into other families and took other names. In the chaos of the Second Blight, all traces of survivors were lost. Andraste's true bloodline, if it exists, lies solely in the descendants of Vivial, and the suspicion of my order is that it produces only daughters. Thus the claims of your young man, monsieur, are highly suspect. Okay. Turn in research. Dream rags removed.
Good. If you find anything, please bring it in.
Nice. So now we have extra damage against wraiths. That's pretty good.
Chain her. I want her prepared for travel to the capital for trial.
Disregard that and leave us.
You walk a dangerous line, Seeker.
The breach is stable, but it is still a threat. I will not ignore it.
I did everything I could to close the breach. It almost killed me.
Yet you live. A convenient result insofar as you're concerned.
Have a care, Chancellor. The breach is not the only threat we face.
Someone was behind the explosion at the Conclave. Someone most holy did not expect. Perhaps they died with the others, or have allies who yet live.
I am a suspect,
You, and many others.
but not the prisoner.
I heard the voices in the temple. The Divine called to her for help.
So her survival, that thing on her hand, all a coincidence.
Providence. The Maker sent her to us in our darkest hour.
Whoa, whoa, whoa now. Are you serious? Blessed be the Maker. You believe I'm innocent? I love this. Oh my god, I don't want to be like, blessed be the Maker. I'm gonna be like, wait, now you believe I'm innocent? What?
So you've changed your mind about me?
I was wrong. Perhaps I still am. I will not, however, pretend you were not exactly what we needed when we needed it.
The breach remains, and your mark is still our only hope of closing it.
This is not for you to decide.
You know what this is, Chancellor. A writ from the Divine, granting us the authority to act. As of this moment, I declare the Inquisition reborn. We will close the breach, we will find those responsible, and we will restore order with or without your approval.
Also, I'd like to stick something into your eye.
Is the Divine's directive. Rebuild the Inquisition of old. Find those who will stand against the chaos. We aren't ready. We have no leader, no numbers. And now, no Chantry support.
But we have no choice. We must act now, with you at our side.
Inquisition?
What is the Inquisition of old, exactly? It preceded the Chantry. People who banded together to restore order in a world gone mad.
After, they laid down their banner and formed the Templar Order, but the Templars have lost their way. We need those who can do what must be done, united under a single banner once more.
But aren't you still part of the Chantry?
Is that what you see?
The Chantry will take time to find a new Divine. And then it will wait for her direction.
But we cannot wait. So many Grand Clerics died at the Conclave. No, we are on our own. Perhaps forever.
You're trying to start a holy war.
We are already at war. You are already involved. Its mark is upon you. As to whether the war is holy, that depends on what we discover.
Alrighty. I'll help you.
If you're truly trying to restore order, that is the plan.
Help us fix this before it's too late.